Welcome back everyone, this is Dash Rendar, and I have something truly special to share today. Now in addition to the ballistics dummy head, which is right here, and we're going to do some impact testing and different things like that, I have armor from the one and only Dequitum. If you have not seen his content, he goes all out. It is full contact, non-scripted night fighting. They bring out the heavy weapons, the pole axes, the flanged mace, all those things, and they go big and they hit hard. And in my opinion, it is legitimately the best medieval content on YouTube. We've been talking a bit, and he said, would you like some hardened steel to test? I'm like, I would love it. So I'm gonna go over the armor he gave me, what type of steel it is, and we're gonna see how it stacks up against the warbows and some other things that I have in my arsenal. To start with the shoulder pauldrons here, the bicep. The shoulders are 0.8 C60 hardened steel. Bicep is 1mm C60 hardened steel. And then the gauntlets. Now these gauntlets here are amazing. I've never really had the, I've never used the articulated hands or anything, but these, like I said, are 1mm C60 hardened steel. And I figured in that time frame, a lot of times if you're a knight and you have a two-hand weapons, you're probably going to take some damage in the hands. I wanted to see how these hold up as well. Behind everything is the brigandine armor plus the padded gamison, and then the pièce de résistance is of course our ballistic dummy head. Now this helmet was not from him. This is a 16 gauge cheaper steel helmet, but I want to test and see how the impact goes with an arrow when you have the helmet on. Of course we're going to end it, probably take the helmet off, do some just splatter and everything like that. But I thought that would be a fun test because a lot of people asked what the impact would be like inside the helmet. And I want to see what happens with the ballistic dummy in there when I test it against the bow and other things as well. Things to note, he did let me know, he circled a couple spots here. One, there's a crack in the hardened steel plate right here on one shoulder pauldron. That one's taken a little bit of abuse. He's tested that one before, but the gauntlets are in great shape. And so we're just gonna go. I'm gonna do the 155-pound bow, 165-pound bow. We're gonna do the self bow, which is 121 pounds. And later I'm gonna bring out the mace because he also sent me this. This is knee armor here. This is 1.5mm C60 hardened steel. And he said, I would be shocked if you did basically anything to this because this is bulletproof, so to speak. And so for this one here, I'm probably gonna use the mace. I think I'm gonna lose a lot of arrows today, but I definitely wanna try this because he's like, this is yours, just do what you can, see what you can do to it.
It became personal with me.
So we're gonna have that in there for the heavy weapons segment as well. To start, I'm gonna go with a 155-pound self bow. Now self bow, what that means is just one single piece of wood. This is white sapwood hickory. Tip wise, I'm going to be using these are triangle type bodkin tips. I'm gonna use also on the later testing, these needle points as well for a more precise one. I'll probably try that on the shoulders, maybe the gauntlets as well. But sorry, I'm just really excited to see how this goes, guys.
Are you ready to go crazy?
I'm already hearing voices!
Hit number one. All right, so we got two solid hits there. The first one right here punched through, it penetrated the gauntlet, and went into the padded gambeson just a little bit. So that would definitely, unless you had mail underneath that spot, that would definitely punch into your skin. You'd still be fine. The second one hit right around here, and it was just angled in a way that was a dramatic failure. That just went, it just blew everywhere.
Phrasing. Sure.
So, it was definitely an impact, but it just glanced off just the right way to where the arrow just exploded into nothingness. And so that was good. I want to do one more test with that, and I want to try it with the needle tip as well. I'm curious if that'll do much better. All right, so needle tip bodkin point against the gauntlet. So what you can really see with these is that if it's not a direct hit and it's a glancing blow, it's gonna have a really hard time doing anything as far as penetrating into the armor. The best shot that I have with this one right here, that was with those pyramid tips, the 155-pound bow, and that punched through the steel. So again, this is C61mm hardened steel. So it is late 15th, 16th century replica. That's like the best of the best. So that did significant damage, in my opinion, to the armor. Again, it's going to protect you more often than not, but it still did a good job punching in there. But you can really see that if it just even has a little bit of a glance to it, it's going to break that arrow, because that's going to cause just that speed of the arrow. It's just going to cause it to flex and move. But I'm really happy with that 155-pound bow versus the knight's armor. Round one, I think we did pretty good, pretty good. Now next up, we're going to come on our knight from the side. So this part here already has a little bit of damage in it and a break. I'm gonna go through all along the shoulder plate here and see how that does. This is the thickest part right here, 1mm C60 hardened steel. This is 0.8. So I wanna see how that does. Again, the angles are really sharp and good, so you can see if it's not a direct hit, it's gonna glance off of that. We're also switching up to the 165-pound warbow for this one, because I wanna try to give a little bit of a different feel and mix as we go. Let's go. Arrow counter, we're at 2. Deflection, that was just, you can see it's not spot on. Whoop, it's gonna move just like that.
Why do they run?
All right, that right there was finally a good clean shot. So, man, this is gonna be expensive. He sent me a lot of this stuff for super cheap, but I'm gonna make up that cost on arrows alone. So that one here was straight through, and this, again, let's see, hold on, let me take that off. All right, so you can see here, that punched in and through. It's gonna protect you. Again, you're gonna have an arrow sticking out of your arm. It may punch in a little bit, but if you had the mail there, like that didn't go through the padded gambeson, so you'd still be okay. The fact that I'm getting through it is exciting to me. You can see that left like a good bullet-sized hole there. The big takeaway here is definitely you're gonna be okay. It's gonna cause some discomfort. It's gonna spook you, I'm sure. We are getting through this armor, and I'm very excited about it because everyone's like hardened steel, blah, blah, but we're doing work on it here. So this is definitely gonna be, you know, something where you're gonna be okay. You're not gonna die, but it's gonna startle you and spook you, and it's gonna, you know, jar you quite a bit. So I don't know if this is you're expecting Dequidum, and I'm sorry if I'm not saying your name quite right. I tried to practice it, but I think that if you were wearing this, oof, I mean, if you had the mail and the padded gambeson, you'd be all right, but that's still going in. Yes. Next up for the fun stuff, we got this nice little goopy ballistics dummy head in here. And so we're gonna test that against the helmet. I'm gonna keep the helmet on, and we're gonna put it over top of it. Oh wait, you know what, hold on. We're gonna add this to it as well. This is a male coif, I think you say. And so this here is riveted flat male. And so it's gonna be the strongest type available. This was made for me by another friend. And we're gonna put this over the head here just as like an additional little protection for the head. Then we're gonna put the helmet on here, just like that. And take some shots at the side. Ugh. Let's do it. Let's see what happened to our intrepid little head. These arrows sticking out, gosh, not bad. Okay, well, looks to me like he is relatively unharmed. No major issues, nothing like that. So obviously the helmet did its job, even though it's not super high quality or high gauge steel. It's enough to kind of diffuse that impact so it's not going to punch all the way into the head, because a lot of people were like, well, surely that impact would rattle you, and it would, but it's going to keep you safe. It'll just kind of bounce your head around a little bit. So that's definitely doing its job. So I guess all that to say, guys, armor works. If you look behind me, just the proof in the pudding, arrows are not cheap or easy to make. It takes a skilled craftsman to make them. In just my short little testing today, these are all of the broken arrows I have so far. So that armor, you know, it's gonna really put a toll on that inventory, because every hit that you impact with it, if it's not a direct one, it's gonna snap that arrow. It's gonna cause massive problems for logistics, because you're gonna keep running out of them over time. They made so many arrows and they went through so many, but it's just a bummer to kind of have to keep losing them, remaking them, the whole thing. Now, just to get ahead of it, I know there's probably gonna be a few people who are gonna be saying crossbow this, crossbow that. If you had a 600-pound or 1,200-pound crossbow, it would do substantially better against the hardened armor than a warbow would, but that is blatantly false. If you have seen the video that I did with Admin, basically he had a 600-pound crossbow, goat's foot crossbow made by Todd's workshop. We tested that against my 165-pound warbow, and I outperformed it in every way. In addition to that, the crossbow couldn't even make it through this brigandine here, while the warbow made through it easily. Even in this test, when I missed a little high, it popped through like it wasn't even there. So there's a big discrepancy between the power of a warbow versus that of a crossbow. And so this is just to get ahead of it. If anyone thinks a crossbow would do better against hardened steel, you are wrong, because we proved that pretty definitively in his tests, I feel. So we're gonna give the bow and arrow a break, because next up we have this here. This is the 1.5mm hardened steel. He said he'd be shocked if I did anything to it, so I took that as a challenge. We're gonna bring out my greatly embattled mace here, but I'm gonna see if I can crack that thing. All right, everybody, well, it definitely took a few tries. I had a little bit of a crack here, and then of course when I put it onto the ground so I had more leverage coming down with more power, that's when I finally popped through right in there. So very well made. Obviously this handles way, way better than any of the stuff that I've tested before. You can see all these cool little like stress fractures there too. The difference between hardened steel and like a mild steel, where the hardened steel tends to bend and this tends to crack, so to speak. So you get a lot of cracks on the plate. So I feel like I kind of cheated with that one. You know, he said he'd be surprised if I got through it. But again, this is like just as strong as you can, as hard as you can, not really a good battle scenario, just mashing metal and metal together. Of course, you can't come out here with a ballistics dummy and not do some work. So to get the honor, this is gonna be the 121-pound bow that was made by Joe Gibbs. It's a flat bow, so a more modern design, but very powerful, very fast, and let's see how it does. Now that we got that out of our system, next thing I want to do is just do some damage with the helmet on and the mace. You know, this thing is probably going to break off when I hit it, so I'll try to come down top of it to keep it together. It's already damaged, but I didn't hit the brains, so if I do any impact, it'll be evident in that way. So the skull stayed intact even with all of that. Now the biggest thing, obviously, the problem is gonna be your neck, right? That's where the big issue is gonna lie, because that even doesn't break or crack your skull, it's gonna probably break your neck, as you can see through that dummy. And here's one thing that's super cool and kind of morbid. Whoop, inside the dummy head, we actually had an arrowhead that got lodged in there, which is kind of crazy and kind of gross. So another thing I wanted to try, if you'll bear with me here, is I wanted to try to see a durability test with these against like something heavy, because you see in armored combat, they take full swings against other opponents wearing these gauntlets. So I want to see how it manages and kind of scale it up and see what I can punch with it and how well it does. I got this heavy brick here. I'm going to start off with like a 35% hit. All right, pretty good. Gotta get the Henry Cavill pump up arms here. All right, now we'll do about 70%. All right, so this glove took a little bit of a beating there. I'm gonna have to hammer that back out. So I'm gonna go left hand, I'm gonna do 100%. I didn't feel anything. I could have gone as hard as possible, and I could have kept doing it for a long time, but the only problem is when I hit the impact, the knuckles, it kind of bent this a little bit here out of shape. So I just got to hammer that back in. Nothing substantial, but that can definitely be done. You can definitely take full impact with these things. It's a little bit of where the hinge goes right there. I think it stretched it out, but the metal handled fantastically. And of course, my friends, we cannot end without some ceremonious big bang, and we are going to sacrifice this poor head up to the altar of Grond. Here you can see is my arrowhead, perfectly extracted. I'm sure a doctor would approve of that method. Destroy the skull so you can then pull the arrowhead out. That way you get to keep your arrowhead. Well, everybody, that is the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. This one was a ton of different hands putting together to make it work. Extra special thanks to Dequetum for the armor. I'm genuinely surprised and thrilled at how well it did against the armor. I think that it showed well the power of the bows and the war bows. You know, ballistic dummy heads are just fun, just for fun. The chainmail I got a long time ago from someone on Instagram, and so thank you to him. But if you guys enjoyed it, as always, just let me know. I had a great time doing this stuff, and I have so many arrows to fix and repair. Hold on, let me show you. So this is my arrow count for the video. It is a pretty obscene number. Some of these are usable again. A majority of them are not. But you know, I think at the end of the day, it's like when you're an adult, what do you spend your money on? Some guys like golf. Some guys like, you know, gambling or whatever.
You can kind of understand it. Am I seeing this right? That wasn't from Odon's, a flat from Chamel.
Before, I didn't see the flop, so now.
I like to buy weapons and break them. So thank you guys for tuning in and letting me continue this habit. Can you put a price on this? No. Will my wife say you can? Yes, she will certainly say you can put a price on this stuff, but I say you cannot put a price on it. So if you guys enjoyed it, like and comment so I can try and recoup some of my losses through ads or what have you. But I really hope you enjoyed it. I have one more ballistics dummy head, and I'm going to use that with the lead shot and the sling when I get that. So it's going to be really exciting. The last thing I really want to say is I'm well aware that I'm much closer than I would be in battle. It would lose speed and power as it's traveling. This is just seeing what a bow can do against some of the best armor that I've ever tested. If I was 50 yards back, I don't think it would have the same impact. Even 100 yards, 200 yards, it certainly would. But like I say in a lot of the videos, the biggest thing is not going through plates. It's going to be stopping the cavalry and the horses. And that's going to stop them from 250, 300 yards away because they're not going to be as armored in hardened steel and plate. So really, as with all my videos, this was more about just fun and seeing if I could make it through that hardened steel. So bonus tip for any of you medieval enthusiasts out there, these mics right here, they magnetize. So you can just throw it on your armor. No clip needed.